It was the late 1940s when the late Colonel Andres Soriano, the great philanthropist and businessman, along with his most trusted men, acquired hectares of land in Bislig Bay to set up was going to be the biggest forest product company in the Philippines, or perhaps in Southeast Asia. Soriano bought some land from the natives of Bislig, whom we called Bisliganans or Kamayo, as also the dialect, or from people who hailed from different regions and settled in Bislig years before. Those early pioneers were, to mention a few, the Cordovas, the Basanases, the Picasalas, the Polinas, the Castillos, and others. The only means of accessing the site at that time was by boat. Mr. Soriano then had a small airstrip built along with a very small sawmill for the management and its employees. The sawmill equipment used were the ones bought from the Macalibur sawmill in Misamis Oriental. The power plant was erected to supply electricity to the compound. The dry kilns and finishing, molding plant was put up along with other auxiliary buildings. It was in the early 50s that most of the staff and employee housing along with the bank houses were built in the upper and lower hills close to the mouth of the Bugak River. A medical clinic was first located in one of those bank houses and later on relocated close to the gym and named Bislig Bay Hospital. But in the early 1970s, a much bigger and modern hospital was constructed where the company chapel and Bislig Bay Elementary School used to be, by the road going to Bayview Hill, and was named Andres Soriano Memorial Hospital. The Bislig, and sometimes called the Mess Hall, was built close to the main gate or security post number 1. This is where social gatherings or once-a-week movie night treats were held in those days. And of course the clubhouse, located on the northeast side of the upper hill, facing the veneer and plywood plants and the bay, with guest rooms and a swimming pool, was the mainstay of high-profile company guests and a venue for senior staff parties and events. The company gym later became the main venue of big parties and night movies, as the company's family of employees grew to over 10,000. The traditional distribution of Christmas gifts from the Sorianos along with the Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve parties were held in the gym. And of course the athletic events of basketball, badminton, ping pong, etc. were held in the gym. Later, on the second floor of the bowling alley, a billiard table and ping pong table and a barbershop and beauty salon were built. Pelota court and tennis court followed. At the same time, the general staff and other rank-and-file employees built their own homes outside the millsite compound. Just outside the main gate was the area of Cagayan. Next was the narrow wooden bridge that led to the boardwalk area, and the barrio, the Bugak and Taban, or otherwise known as Kilometro Ono. More rural roads and bridges, as well as the connecting links between its neighboring barrios and towns, were built in the barrio of Mangagoy. St. Margaret Mary School was built beside the Church of St. Vincent de Paul, which had a big playground filled with wood chips. It was truly a memorable area for everyone, as it was where the PMT drills and parade assemblies were held, such as the one in October, month of Human Rosary. It was the center of children's activities on Saturdays or Sundays, as coordinated by the Knights of the Altar, as well as the site for numerous school activities and town festivities. There was another building put up partly behind the church to accommodate the intermediate grades of St. Margaret Mary School, but later transformed into a female teacher's housing. As the population of Mangagoy grew rapidly, John Bosco School was constructed and later on managed by the Marinol sisters. It was financed by the company, mainly to accommodate its employees' children. There was only one public school at that time, the Andres Soriano Institute, located on a delta-shaped piece of land just across the church. This school had a big playground which was used for different public activities. A longer pier made of timber was constructed with a considerable draft to accommodate cargo ships from overseas. At a later stage, a jetty, or what is popularly called the causeway or Picop Pier, because the tip is shaped like a letter P, about 1 kilometer long, was reclaimed on a strip of land in the Danny Pass Beach area to serve as a barrier for log water storage. It was another romantic place and a perfect place for stargazing on a clear night. This spot had a 360-degree view of the surroundings. Picnicking and shoreline fishing was commonly done here. The nearby Danny Pass Beach was for swimming and family picnics. In the early 1970s, new staff houses for PICOP executives were built at the top of Bayview Hill. Extensive expansion of operations and facilities like the new administration offices, warehouse buildings, and the merger of Plywood Plant 1 and 2 and engineering departments into Timber Products Group occurred at this time. After more than a year of pile driving, structural and equipment installations, the pulp and paper mills were erected. Likewise, approximately 15 kilometers west of Bislig, the Forest Drive village was developed. Located in Coleto, the housing project accommodated most of the Picop employees and their dependents. Although tree plantations have survived in Mindanao today, they did not rise to the scale hoped for by those in the industry. A big part of that story was the fall and demise of Picop. Picop fell apart during the financial, economic and institutional changes that hit the nation during the late 1980s. The property rights assigned to the company by its concession also were affected or destabilized by changing forestry regulations and policies. The company did not seek major partners in the field of paper making that could have helped it to raise capital, improve its technological capacity and productivity, and broaden its markets for its output. But its main financing was dependent on the DBP, the State Development Bank. However, Picop's productive years was beleaguered by both external and internal problems, natural calamities, national economic and political instability, high fuel costs in the international market, unfavorable national market conditions due to market globalization, subtle effects of full privatization, and the legal and environmental constraints affected Picop's operation, production, and financial standing that forced Picop to shut down in 2006. Is a great loss to the community, especially to the local economy of Bislig City, which became almost dependent on PRI's operations, and the problem of unemployment surfaced. And the rest is history. It was the late 1940s.